Our topic for today is about using Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Excel is also a member of Office 365. So what will be the intended learning outcomes? At the end of this video presentation, the student is expected to understand basic terminology or concepts for spreadsheets, create a new blank worksheet or use a template to create a new worksheet, enter or edit data in worksheet, open, close, or save worksheets or workbooks, select cells for a variety of purposes, copy and move data, change the column width or row height, create simple formulas, and use common built-in functions. Format the data in a worksheet to enhance it, work with charts, sort and filter information in a worksheet, work with tables, and preview a print report. So, as with any Office application, when you first start the program, you see the backstage view. You can select a template for creating a new workbook or click the Open Other Workbook link to access the Open tab in the backstage view. As you work in Excel, recently used files will display in the left pane of the startup screen. A new blank workbook is shown in the from this figure. So we have name box here. Look here for the address of the active cell. For example, if the name box display A21, this indicates the active cell is where a column A and row 21 intersect. We have insert function here. So open a dialog box that will help you choose and insert a built-in functions. Formula bar. So this is a formula bar. View the contents of the active cell. Under certain circumstances, you can use this bar to create or edit entries in the worksheet. Select all. Click to select all the cells in the worksheets. Active cell. So this indicates the current cell with a click border around the cell. Column headings. The sequential letters of the top of each column enable you to identify columns. So we have A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. Row headings. The sequential numbers of the left side, so this will be the row here, there's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. The sequential numbers on the left side of each row enable you to identify rows. Table scrolling, so this one, no? Use these arrows to navigate between the worksheet in the workbook. Sheet tabs, this one. The name of the current or active worksheet on screen and scroll bars is here. Use this to move horizontally or vertically within the current or active worksheets. An Excel file is called a workbook. Okay? And a workbook contains one or more individual worksheets. For instance, a file named AM 2020 Figures could contain a worksheet that shows a summary of the company's revenues and expenses, another worksheet with quarterly summaries, and a worksheet that shows business expenses and so on. So, Microsoft Excel, it is a spreadsheet developed by Microsoft for Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS. It features calculation, graphing tools, pivot tables, and a macro programming languages called Visual Basic for application. It is a helpful and powerful program for data analysis and documentation. It is a spreadsheet program which contains a number of columns and rows where each intersection of a column and a row is a cell, and each cell contains one point of data or one piece of information. A worksheet contains rows number from 1 to 1,048,576 and the columns assigned with letters or letter combination from A to Z then AA to ZZ, then AAA to ZZZ, and so on up to XFD. A cell is the intersection of a row and column and can contain one single value, text or number, or formula. For instance, cell B5 is the box that you will find when you follow down column B to row 5. Each cell has its own address or a reference you can use to find it within a worksheet. The active cell is the cell currently displayed with a tick border such as cell A1 in the previous lecture. Entering data in the worksheet. You should always try to organize the information on a worksheet in a way that will be clear to you and to anyone else who may be using or analyzing the content. Include appropriate levels and description in your reports so your audience understands what they are viewing. You can insert three types of data into worksheet cells. So we have labels. Text entries appear in the cells exactly as you enter them, default to left align. Values, numeric values default to right align. Formulas, composed of cell references, arithmetic operators in functions or calculation commands that performs operations on data. So to enter information, click a cell to select it and then type the entry. Use the backspace key or delete key to correct any input errors. When you finish typing, press enter to move to the next cell below or press tab to move to the next cell to the right. You can also click another cell or press any row key to accept the input in the current cell. The following image is an example of how to organize your data so that you can clearly see its purpose. When you entering information, consider the following. You can enter or edit data directly in the active cell or use the formula bar for long data entries. Labels can be up to 32,767 characters long. If a label is longer than the width of the cell, it will display past the column border as long as adjoining cell to the right is empty. Entries in adjoining cell cut off the display at the column border. The long text label may not be visible, but it is still completely contained in the cell in which it was entered. You can easily change the appearance and alignment of any entry in any cell. And the maximum length of formula contains is 8,192 characters only. Numbers are constant values such as dollars and percentage. By default, they align to the right side of a cell. If you enter characters other than numbers, Excel treats the enter entry as a label. Excel display values with no formatting, allowing you to format them yourself. When entering dates, you can enter them in a numeric form such as 2-25-20 or as a text, month, day, and year. When entering dates, note the following. So the default format of the date value is MDYY. Although you can change this using the region and language settings in the control panel. The date value does not have to be the full day, month, and year. It can just the day and month formatted MMMDD or the month and year formatted MMMYYYY. So moving around the worksheet, you can move around the cells of a worksheet using the following methods. Scroll bars. Click the arrow buttons at either end of the scroll bar to move one or row or column at a time. Click and drag the scroll box to display another location in the worksheet. Left, right, up, or down. Press a direction key to move one cell at a time. Home moves to column A in the current row. Control plus Home moves to cell A1. Control plus End moves to the last cell with data in your report. Control plus G or F5 display the go-to dialog box, which you can use to move quickly to a cell address. Actually, a while ago, as what we discussed, you can also use the horizontal or vertical scroll bar to move to other areas of the worksheet. So as you begin to work with multiple worksheets, you can use the arrows at the far left below the worksheet to navigate to the sheets. Alternatively, you can click the sheet tab for the sheet you want to view. Managing workbooks. Basic file management tasks such as saving a file, opening a file, creating a new file, or closing a file are similar across all applications in Office Suite. Creating a new blank workbook. So when you start Excel, the backstage view appears and you can choose to create a new workbook or open an existing one. If you create a new blank workbook, it is automatically named Book 1 each time you create a new workbook during the same session. Excel will number it sequentially as Book 2, Book 3, Book 4, Book 5, and so on. When you exit Excel and start a new session later, the number begins again at 1. And of course, to create a new blank workbook in Backstage, click New and double-click Blank Workbook. It is also you can also press Ctrl plus N to create a new blank workbook or a new blank document type in any Office application. So to create a new workbook using a template, click the File tab and click New. Then, of course, you can click a template to open a larger view of the template's content. So click Create to create new workbook based on the selected template. Alternatively, click the arrow at either side of the template to view other templates in the list of either side of the template. To exit the preview, click the X at the top right corner of the preview window. So here, okay? Saving workbooks. To use a workbook again, you must save it. It is a good practice to save your work frequently during a session, especially if the workbook is large. If you are using a process you have not tried before, to save the changes made to an existing file, click the File tab and then Save. Actually, you can also click Save on the Quick Access toolbar or press Ctrl plus S to save or quickly save the file. This is common to all Office applications. And to save the file changes made to the existing file and save it with a new name or in a different file format, click File tab and then click Save As. So the first time you save a file, you will always see the Save As option so that you can give the new workbook a distinct name and select the location where it will be stored, such as folder on the hard drive, on a network or online drive, or on the portable media drive. You can choose the location by clicking the appropriate designation. Once the location is selected, the right pane changes to display a list of presently accessed folders in which to save files. From this screen, you will click to select a folder to store the new file. Type the name in the file name field and then click Save. The default file type given an Excel file is .xlsx, although you can save it different file formats using the option in the Save As type field. So, if you need to save a workbook in a different format, click the arrow for the Save As type, the format you want to. For example, you could save the file in a PDF form so no one can make changes to the workbook, or save the file in a previous version of Excel to make the file compatible for someone who does not have the same version as you. Using Excel and other spreadsheets file type. In addition to working with its own native file types, Excel can open files produced in earlier version of Excel such as .xls and .xlt files, and it can import files created in Microsoft Access as well as output generated by SQL queries. Excel also includes the more generic file types associated with the spreadsheet data. These types include comma-separated values or the .csv. These are text files wherein the data is laid out in a columnar format and the contents of each column are separated by a comma. Tab delimited files or .tsv. These are files wherein the data is laid out in a columnar format and the contents of each column are separated by a tab character. These files can be used by many spreadsheet programs and you can open these types of files directly in Excel or you can import the data. Opening a workbook. To work with an existing workbook, you have to open it. You can have multiple workbooks open in Excel at the same time, but only one can be the active workbook at any given time. So to open a file, use one of the following methods. Click the file, click open, click the location for the file, and then the folder where the file can be found. Or click browse to use the open dialog box, select the file and click open. Or click the file tab and click a file from the list of recent workbooks display in the right pane. These are grouped by the date the file was last accessed. And you can also press Ctrl plus O to display the open dialog box. As you learned in the previous lesson, all applications of the Office Suite automatically open files received your over the internet in protected mode. You should understand that protected mode and read-only mode work the same in Excel as they do in Word. Closing workbook. When you are finished working with the current workbook, save the changes and then close the workbook to protect it from accidental changes. Closing files also free up system resources for other files. When you close a workbook, Excel display any other open workbooks or a blank background screen if no workbook is open. To close a workbook, click the File tab and click Close. You can also press Ctrl plus W or Ctrl plus F4 to close the workbook or click the Close button to shut down the application. This works in any Office application. Manipulating the contents. The easiest way to change cell contents is to type the new content. Press Enter and have Excel replace the old information with the new entry. To correct errors as you type, press backspace or delete prior to pressing enter or moving to another cell. If you want to add, delete, or changes less than the entire contents of the cell, you can activate Excel's edit move by pressing F2 or double clicking on the cell. Excel will display the insertion point and you can proceed in one of the following ways. Select the text in the cell, type the replacement text, and press enter to exit the edit mode, or use the delete key to remove any unwanted characters from the cell content. Selecting cells. Prior to performing an action, you must indicate what range or part of the worksheet to affect with that action. A range can be a single cell, several cells, or in the entire worksheet. Selected cells remain selected or highlighted until you click a cell or press an arrow key. The selected range appears in reverse color to the cells. The active cell is the selected range appears in normal color. You can select individual cells or any range as cell as follows. So either single cells, extend the selection, entire row, entire column, entire worksheet, non-adjacent cell, columns or rows, multiple rows or multiple columns. Of course, using undo or repeat. Excel includes at undo functions that enables you to undo command executed in the worksheet. Excel can undo up to 100 recently used commands. This undo history display when you click the arrow beside the undo button. The undo command can be performed only in the reverse sequence of the changes made to worksheet. You cannot reverse a changes in a sequence of your choosing. Undo does not work for some commands such as saving the file. If you need to reverse and undo, you can redo or repeat it. Copying and moving data. Excel enables you to copy or move cell contents from a different part of the same worksheet, another worksheet in the same workbook, or a worksheet in a different workbook. The command buttons in shortcut keys are the same as they are word. So we have cut, copy, and paste. And you can press Ctrl plus H for copy, Ctrl plus X for cut, and Ctrl plus V for paste in any Office application. Before you can activate the copy or cut command, you must select a range of cells. When you reactivate either the cut or copy command, a marquee will appear around the selection identifying what will be cut or copied. To cancel the marquee, press Escape. You can then use space to place the cut or copied item into the new location. Alternatively, you can press Enter to paste the item and turn off the marquee at the same time. Using the Office Clipboard, activate the commands for cut, copy, and paste using the Home tab. In the Clipboard group or with the favored shortcut, display the Office Clipboard at any time by clicking the Clipboard dialog box launcher in the Clipboard group of the Home tab. So as with all Office application of the Office Clipboard, can contain cut or copy items from any application, including a non-Office application. So we have paste all, clear all, and options. Changing the column width. If the width is not wide enough to display all the digits of a numeric or date value, Excel display numbers or hashtags or number sign symbols. If you increase the width of the column sufficiently, the value will be shown in standard format using any assigned cell formatting. If the cell to the right contains information, the text is truncated or cut off at the column boundary. So to change the width of the column on the Home tab, in the cell groups, click Format and then Column Width. Type a value in the column width box and click OK or press Enter. You can also point the mouse pointer on the line at the right edge of the column header to be adjusted. And when you see the plus sign, no, click and drag of the required width or column. When you need to adjust the row height to the row is smaller or larger than others in the worksheet, on the Home tab in the cell groups, click Format and then Row Height. Type a value in the row height box and click OK or press Enter. You can also point at the bottom edge of the row header to be adjusted, and when you see the plus sign, click and drag to the height required. Manipulating rows, columns, or cell. Inserting new rows, columns, or cell. When you need to add information or separate parts of the worksheet, delete rows, columns, or cell of data that you do not need in the worksheet. In inserting rows, column, or cell on the Home tab, in the cell groups, click the arrow for Insert to select the item to be inserted. In deleting rows, columns, or cell on the Home tab, in the cell groups, click the arrow for Delete to select the item to be deleted. Creating a simple formulas. A formula is a calculation using numbers in a cell from other cell. It can be as simple as single cell, or it can be as complex as required in a large worksheet of one workbook that may be linked to another books or workbooks. Using a formula to calculate values enables you to focus on the data and allow Excel to automatically recalculate the results if the data changes. And to begin, of course, a formula in a cell, you must enter equal sign depending on the formula. This is usually followed by a cell address and mathematically operand, and then another cell address as seen in the following example. You enter the cell address into formula by typing it directly into the cell or by clicking on the cell to be included. The cell into which you enter a formula will display the result of the formula, and the formula itself will be visible in the formula bar. So here's the following symbol. used in Excel to represent standard mathematical operations. A cell containing formulas can be copied to other cells. If these formulas contain all references, Excel will automatically adjust the cell references when you paste the formulas into a new location. Using common built-in functions. Excel provides over 300 built-in functions for mathematical and data operation. Functions accept numbers, values in cell references as argument with parentheses with the following format. So some common functions you will use are sum, average, mean, max, and count. Using absolute and relative address. Most formulas entered into Excel worksheet refer to cell addresses which are relative. If you copy a formula with a relative cell address and paste it to another cell, Excel will automatically adjust the cell references in the pasted cell to reflect the new location. So an absolute cell address refers to an exact or fixed location on the worksheet. To change a relative cell address to the absolute cell address in a formula or functions, type a dollar sign before the row number and or column letter, or press F4 once you enter the cell address. What does formatting mean? Formatting refers to changing the appearance of data to draw attention to parts of the worksheet or to make the data easier to read. Formatting does not affect any underlying values. So you can format a cell or range of cell at any time, either before or after you enter the data. A cell remains formatted until you clear the format or reformatted the data or cell. When you enter the new data in the cell, Excel will display it in the existing format. When you fill a cell, you copy its format along with the cell contents. To apply formatting on the Home tab, click the command to apply formatting from the appropriate group. Excel provides other methods to access formatting options such as keyboard shortcuts or the mini toolbar. The following demonstrates the most commonly used method to access these formatting options. When you enter numbers, Excel displays exactly as you entered, except for any trailing zeros. Also, numbers larger than width of the cell will display in scientific notation format. So to format selected cell that contains values on the Home tab in the number group, click the arrow of number format and click the format required, or click one of the commonly used number format buttons in the number group of the Home tab. Changing cell alignment. So alignment refers to the position of data within a cell. You can align cell contents horizontally and vertically. So by default, new values entered into a worksheet use the general alignment option numbers and dates, automatically right align, and while text labels automatically left align. So we have used merge center and unmerged cells. Changing fonts in size. A font is a typeface of text files. Text style. Changing fonts alter the way text and number appears. So we need to keep the number of fonts in a worksheet to one or two, as the appearance of too many font style can be distracting. So applying cell borders. To apply a border to a cell on the Home tab in the font group, click the arrow 4 and click the side you want to apply a border. Alternatively, click more borders to apply other formatting options for the borders from within the border tab of the Format Cells dialog box. Applying colors and patterns. The fill option sets the background color of the pattern of a cell. Patterns and colors draw attention to certain parts of your worksheet and can act as a visual divider of information. So to apply a color or pattern to a cell on the Home tab, in the font group, click the arrow for fill color. Working with chart. A chart is a pictorial representation of data in a worksheet. A chart can be a more descriptive way of representing your data, as it can clearly illustrate trends or patterns in the data. You can create a chart by selecting data from the worksheet and then select the type of chart to insert into the worksheet. Once you have created the chart, you can save it with the workbook. So to create a chart, select the cell range for the chart in the worksheet, and then on the Insert tab in the Charts group, click the chart type. Once the chart has been created, it will reflect any patterns or trends in the worksheet data and show that information in a picture format. Remember that the chart is created based on the cells you select prior to activating the chart feature. If the data in the chart does not match your analysis of the data, you will need to check the series used in the chart. To create a chart, select all cell range for the charts in the worksheet, and then on the Insert tab in the Charts group, click the chart type. So Excel provides a variety of chart types and several subtypes with each major type. So we have column, line, pie, bar, area, XY scatter, stack, surface, and radar. So if you would like a recommendation for a chart type to use, click the recommended chart tabs to review samples of how data will appear in a chart type. So Excel generates a chart using standard defaults. Modify the layout to create Excel that look you want. Use commands on the chart tools ribbon to manipulate items on the chart. So we have access titles, chart title, data labels, data table, error bars, grid lines, and legends. Most often in Excel, data is arranged into lists. The word list is a term from the early days of Excel, and generally it refers to data that is arranged into a series of columns. The top row of the list includes headings or columns titles, and the rows below contain the data. Column titles are also called field names. In order to a list to be meaningful, each column within the list should contain the same type of data for each row and of information. Consider the list shown in the figure. Sorting data. One advantage of using Excel to store data is the option to sort and organize the database on the values in the selected column or rows. You can sort and resort data as many times as required using different sort criteria each time. You can sort data by columns and rows. However, it is far more common to sort by columns. So we have A to C as I mentioned. Filtering information. The autofilter can find rows where a cell is equal to a specific value or set of values. Other selections criteria give you the flexibility to find almost anything you need, including values that are not equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and between. Certain types of fields have additional selection criteria. You can choose to filter the data using one of the options in the top portion of the drop-down menu, clear or create a custom filter, or click turn on or off an item in the list to display the items you want to see in the worksheet. To clear a filter, click the auto filter button for the filter data and then click clear filter for from. Understanding Excel database. So the first row of the database must contain field name at the top of each column. Each column in the database must contain the same category of data in every row in the column. Each row in the database contains all of the fields of data. The row containing the field name must be formatted differently from the rest of the line. There can be no blank rows in the list. Data in the column must be in the same format to every row in the column. Working with tables. To create a table, the data you want to include must be contiguous. That is, there must not be any blank rows or columns in the range of cell. Also, the data must be arranged in row order with the header at the top of each column in the data listed below. To convert a range cell of cells containing data to a table, use one of the following methods. On the Insert tab in the Tables group, click Table, or on the Home tab in the Style group, click Format as Table, then click as Table Style. Once you create the table, Excel activates the auto-filter icon next to each column title and applies the current active theme. The Table Tools Design tab is also added. The ribbon. One of the table features is the ability to insert an automatic total row at the bottom of the table. Modifying table data. After the table is created, you can add or delete rows in columns of data. To add a new column of data at the far right of the table, simply enter this data into the first blank column. Excel will automatically extend the table to include this new column. Similarly, Excel will extend the table to include a new row of data that you enter directly below a table as long as total row feature is not activated. If the total row is activated, you must click any cell in the bottom data row. Then on the Home tab in the cell groups, click the arrow next to Insert and click Insert Table Row Data. Similarly, on the Home tab in the cell groups, you can use the Delete button to delete rows or columns on the data from the table. Formatting table data. By default, the theme selected for the workbook is applied to all tables in that workbook. You can override it for a specific table by selecting a different style under Table Tools on the Design tab in the Table Styles group. The table style colors option can also be removed and reapplied later if needed again. If none of these predefined table styles are suitable, you can also create a customized one. The Table Tools Design tab also allows you to activate or deactivate other table formatting options, including highlighting the first or last column and banding rows by using different color shades by alternating rows. To print a worksheet, click the File tab and click Print. Excel displays both the print options and a preview of the worksheet with the existing print option applied. The total number of pages in the printout display at the bottom left of the preview. If the number of pages exceeds or falls short of what you expected, you may need to revisit and change the page setup before printing. A chart in the worksheet previews or prints based on where it is positioned in the worksheet. You can move the chart to a new worksheet or insert a page break between the data in the chart. If you are using a monochrome printer, the chart will print in varying shades of gray. It will print in color only if you have a color printer. So once you have previewed the worksheet on the screen and make sure it is ready to print, you can select the print command. By default, Excel prints only the current active worksheet in the workbook. You can also specify to print all worksheet in the workbook, a selected group of worksheet, or only selected range of cells. And that's it. So this lesson taught you to how to use a spreadsheet application to create simple reports such as budget or cash flows, and you should now be able to understand basic terminology or concept for a spreadsheet. Create a new blank worksheet or use a template to create a new worksheet. Enter or edit data in a worksheet. Open, close, or save workbooks. Select cell for a variety of purposes. Copy and move data. Change the column width or row height. Create simple formulas and use common built-in functions. Format the data in worksheet to enhance it. Work with charts. Sort or filter information on worksheet. Work with tables and preview and print reports. So once again, thank you and good luck. Enjoy the rest of the semester. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Morning, Doc.
Hello
Okay,
po.
so I will show you an example on how we'll be able to use Microsoft Excel. Okay, so we have still a little minute, okay? So, of course, for us to open a Microsoft Excel, still running. So, what we're going to do is just simply click this one, the start, then locate Microsoft Excel, okay? So, for example, as what we have here, Microsoft Excel. Okay, so as what we have here, we have home, no, new, open. If you have a previous Microsoft Excel activity, we have a lot of we have blank workbook, and of course at the same time we have an available template. So drop down tutorial, formula tutorial, pivot tutorial, and a lot more template here. So if you click template here, so Microsoft Excel give you a lot of uh, template, no, as what we have here. But for the meantime, we just start using blank workbook. Okay. So a while ago, based on my discussion, we have, as you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. That is what we call draw. Okay? So we have A, B, C, D. That is column. And for example, if I wanted to input world city colleges, for example, this is a formula bar. Okay? Formula bar. As what we have this one, no, this part that is an active cell. But if you want to look with the name address of this active cell, so that is E, right, and 6, row 6. So therefore this is a name address na E6. Okay, so the advantage of having Microsoft Excel is, for example, if I type 1, 2, then if you're going to have a lot more numbers, so just look for this one, then drag it down. So you have a number already. Now,
So for example, if we want to insert, for example, we want to insert additional row, so you just highlight, right click, insert. But if you want to insert a column, highlight the column, right click, insert. Okay. For example, we have a student name, for example here, no? Actually, in database, this student name, for example, prelim, midterm, final, average, equivalent, and remarks. So we have a lot of formats actually. So for example, if you want to change the format of this text, so you just click, right click of course, format cell. So in format cell, as you can see here, general. So this will be the default general if you want to change the name, number in currency, in accounting, in date, in time, and so on and so forth. Or text, special text. Okay. So by this time we use general. For alignment, we have of course the general, and we have top, center, bottom, and justify. And you have also required to wrap text, shrink to fit, and merge cell. So most commonly, we use shrink to fit. Then okay. So as you can see here, now, as I mentioned earlier, student, prelim, midterm, final, average, equivalent, and remarks is what we call field in a database. Okay? So for example, this will be the data. Then for example, 80, 90, 78, 90, 97. As you can see here, if we inputted a value, automatically align right. Na? It must be aligned right. Okay. So we have now a record. Okay. So if you want to make this in bold, so you just highlight, click the bold, or you just simply click Control V. Okay. Then if you want to add additional a size, a font size, so 15 for example, then as you can see here, automatically adjusted. Okay. Now, if we want to have a big font size, no, even we are not changing the size, and, if you want to make it a bigger than as a previous one, so you just use this one, no, either plus sign or minus sign. So for example, if we wanted to merge this one, so you just highlight, then merge in center. Okay. Then of course, if you want to format, no, fully red, size 18. So almost the same with Microsoft Word actually when it comes to formatting. Then bold. Okay. Now, how about how we'll be able to get the average? So position your cursor, of course, in the area, no, that you want to display the result. So since we are going to get the average of the prelim, midterm, and finals of Abante Melo, So at the top, choose this one, no? Click, then choose average. Then press enter. Okay? So automatically, if you have a computed one record, so you just click this one, the plus sign, then automatically computed as you can see here. Okay? So why Microsoft Excel included even no at the bottom, even we don't have record here, because we have a number 1 to 19. Na? Okay, now, how about if we want to make this in a two decimal places? So in the number, we have increased decimal and decrease. So what you're going to do is to click increase first, then decrease up to two decimal place or one decimal places. Okay? Now, for example, if we want to find out the equivalent, so for the meantime, no, for the meantime, so as what we have previously, so we had, I think, 97, assuming, no, 97, that is 100, 97 to 100, that is flat 1, sorry. Then, well, guess, no, I forgot the exact. That is 98, no? 96 or 95. 93, for example. 90. No, just only an assuming because I'm not perfectly memorized. 81, 77, 75, then 50. So 125, 1.5, 1.75, 2, 2.25, 2.5, 2.75, 3, 5. So if we want to make this in a two decimal places, you just increase, no? Okay, now, so what we're going to do is to put, of course, our cursor here. Then again, more functions by this time. Use VLOOKUP, okay. Then type the lookup value. So this will be our lookup value. Position your cursor in the table array, then click this one. Okay, highlight. Then column 2. Because we want to display the column 2, right? But by this time, we add additional, no, the dollar sign here. Then click OK. What happened? Actually, if you encountered problem or error, you just simply click help. Okay? It will give you a lot of options or an idea on how you'll be able to solve the problem. So click here if you need help on the NA error with a specific function or VLOOKUP. But it gives you some idea here. So most commonly VLOOKUP, then it must be false. So we'll repeat again the process. So we try to make it in a arrange this from smallest to highest. Sometimes this will be the issues that we need to address too. So VLOOKUP, of course, then okay. So this will be the lookup value. Then the table array is here. Highlight. Then index column number 2. Then click OK. Ayan, as you can see here. So what we're going to do first, right, is to from lowest to highest. So if we have already a value or computed a value or get the VLOOKUP value, you just look for the plus sign at the lower right corner, then double click. So automatically we have 2.5, 2.5, DOS, 2.20, and so on. Okay, so to have a increased decimal, of course, for us to be consistent. And as you can see here, for example, if we want to add additional person here, for example, who is the participant? Garcia Mark Kevin, for example. Garcia Mark Kevin. For example, for example is 89, 78, 90, for example. As you can see here, automatically give you the average and the equivalent because it's automatically computed. This will be an advantage of using Microsoft Excel. Now the remarks. Okay, so what we're going to do is to put your cursor on the place you want to display the result. Then again, auto sum by this time, more function again. Choose if. Then okay. Then in logical test, you just click this one, of course. Then greater than or equal to 75. Then if true, pass. If false, failed. Then click OK. So as you can see here, done. Again, look for the plus sign at the lower right, double click automatically. So for example, I will replace the score of Abante. If I make it 70, 70 automatically adjusted. As you can see, the average, the equivalent, and the remarks will change. And 70, so automatically fail. Okay? So this is the way on how we'll be able to use the average, the VLOOKUP, and the if. Now, how about if we make it red? For example, if the student got lower 70, the font or the text or the word, make it in red. So highlight, for example, this one. Then conditional formatting. Then highlight, choose less than. Okay? Less than 75. Okay? So it make a, for example, red text. Then okay. So for example, if I will change again this one, 50. So as you can see, there are certain changes, even the average. 50, automatically change the color, the equivalent, and the remarks. How about if I'll change the color of this remarks if the student was failed? So again, conditional highlight first, conditional formatting, highlight cell, equal to. This time, type failed. So if failed, mark it, for example, a red text. Click OK. So as you can see here, again, if I'll make this one a 0, so automatically change, no? The average, the equivalent, and the remarks. And I think that's it muna for today. This will be our first activity.